one more question.
Yes, sorry. I thought my head was entirely clear on this, and I knew what. I'm realising no, it isn't actually. I'm always concerned with these things that we don't. This comes up such a lot. People want to be so prescriptive to sort of time. We won't do this if this, and I'm like, is that tying our hands a bit too much? So I want some assurance. So I'll give you an example, and I'm not saying I will do this because I'm actually not. I'm debating whose hands is this parcel of land safest in. So there's a lovely green around Roughmore, which I think initially I thought let's get it adopted by the town council, and now I'm thinking maybe not because I don't know what they'll want to plonk on it. So I'm not sure. But say I wanted it adopted by the town council, would it be the case that officers would then tell me, well, Somerset Council would have to cough up 20 years worth of maintenance? Is that the case, or am I misreading that? Is that not the case? And is it the case that there was a scenario where, I don't know, we seem to be saying this LACMAC thing is a good, maybe a good option where but there's no money, the developer has no money, but we want to make it things better for residents, and that is a way forward in that scenario. But I don't understand this thing about
I think the LACMAC is probably a good idea.
But yeah,
if the developer does have money, because I think then the town council and actually I guess elected members are now kind of responsible for how much they're also being charged, which is only better for the residents, isn't it? Because I doubt they get to ever have any say with a traditional manco, whereas if it's run by the council and it is like a manco, council manco, at least you have an elected member that you can go to if you have issues. So I would say that's quite a good feeling on that respect. But in terms of in terms of whether Somerset Council would have to give us 15 years.
It does say adoption will only be considered where a commuted sum is provided sufficient to cover 15 to 20 years of maintenance. Can't you say usually only? I don't know. I just like it. Just seems
that it doesn't. Marcus.
Yeah, I'm happy to go in and look at that. I think there's a specific Appendix B that talks about the Somerset Council transfer checklist. In most cases where Somerset Council land, they would have already had the commuted sum and long ago spent and then adopted the land themselves.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that we would be in a position to be able to demand that from Somerset Council. So happy to look at the wording in that.
I have to say, I think commuted sum is something that I think finance and governments need to look at carefully. Because I mean, I've had two people who deserve me saying it doesn't seem to work. So it seems strange. And I think any policy review, I mean, we're discussing in the break, is always reviewed as well.
Yeah, I just don't want to. I'm not liking people wanting to tie hands.
Yeah.
And we need flexibility. I think yes, it's all fine to have the principles, and yes, the cost is key, whatever. But I don't want it to be so prescriptive. So I'd be very wary about sticking my hand up at this point, unless there's some amendment to the recommendation to say just to not tie. Adoption will only be considered where that commuted sum is available.
Scrutinising tonight.
Yes. So this is something we need to pass to finance and governance to say this was one of our concerns. Have you noted that concern?
Well, I've got all of these concerns down, Chair. I think Marcus is going to
Right, so those minuted will then go to finance and governance when they come to review this policy, because this is a policy and this has to be.
I'm not sure that the covering report for the Finance and Governance Committee contains a comprehensive list of the concerns of the committee raised tonight, so that they've got that and obviously make any consequential amendments based on the feedback we've had tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, and also it will go to full council for formal adoption. So we've had a chat about it. It'll be discussed at FinGov and then it'll be discussed again at full council.
Yes.
So there's more process that's got to go through.
However, everything we've discussed here tonight, I'm rather hoping we'll go forward to finance and governance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't want to get to full council and just have the same conversations.
No.
And I'm hoping that this, I mean, I'll have to get to full council said, I can, reel off the list of things that we're concerned about, were these addressed? And they can say, yes, we considered that, considered this, considered the other, we went with that, didn't go with that. Weren't so sure about that one. Yeah. Councillor S.
so we're being asked to, so we've reviewed and scrutinised
You
to
have
the
done
best of
that.
our ability. Some of us might be quite tired.
I think we've done that.
Okay.
I think we've done a good
But then
job.
we're not going to recommend it to full council. It's got to go to finance and gov. So what we
It's a
recommend,
policy.
will it be recommend or just send it with our comments for
Send
agreement?
with our
by?
comments.
So we're not recommending
No.
it. We're saying we're more or less, we're sort of happy with most of it,
Yeah.
but we've got these concerns. And so we want finance and governance to address those before it goes to full council.
I've thought recommendation 2 was to pass our recommendations on the policy, or pass on our comments about the
No,
policy.
I won't say
to-
recommendations.
No, comments, yeah.
Comments,
So
okay.
recommendation 2 is to pass on our comments
Okay.
for consideration by the finance and
Yeah.
governance. Have you got that down, Holly?
Yeah.
And I think number 3, I think it's down, isn't it? 'Cause
Yeah.
it is
We've
within
noted.
our business plan. Yeah. So we have reviewed. So we've reviewed. We are voting to pass on our comments to be for consideration to the finance and governance, and hopefully they will absorb most of those.
Mhm.
Because I think there have been some quite good comments here. And we note that it is enlightened. So really, the only thing we need to do is
Vote.
the vote to pass our comments on to.
Okay.
So I'm happy to propose that. As for finance, second it. All those in favour? Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Lastly, we're doing very well. I think it's a good conversation, good discussion there. Actually, I like good discussions. The last one is a stewardship update on Orchard Road. And just to say that myself and Marcus will be joining Simon on that Monday, the 8th of December. Something else that we got cows at the bandstand. So hopefully, Simon, you're kind of the cows at the bandstand afterwards.
Want to hear that?
And so there's an awful lot there, but most of this, I think, is, well, first of all, it's Russ.
Apologies for the lengthy recommendation.
Yes, which I will come to at the end, I think. Let's hear what it's all about first. Do that. So, Marcus, I'm going to hand over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So yeah, just firstly start off, thank Simon for all his help and support over the last couple of years, and especially latterly thank the consortium as well for their support of the stewardship working group. So as you'll be aware, the council established a stewardship working group back in September 2023 after councillors confirmed they had an interest in acquiring responsibility for the aspects of Orchard Grove public open space, playing field and allotments, and community hall. For those who don't know, Orchard Grove is a strategic development in Coventry with significant areas of public open space. The current interest in the site is held in a number of titles of land, all owned by Taylor Wimpey, Vistry Homes and Westco Properties, and they have established Orchard Grove Management Company Limited for initial stewardship. As I said, in the estate service charge deed, that forms the basis of the agreement between each customer and the Manco, and the developers have absolute discretion to alter any areas included in the management. So the consortium can remove areas if they wish. So the last update on this matter was actually to the Planning, Development and Licensing Committee back in December and January of this year, as a reproduction of some of the things we were considering at that time around this suds and drainage. I've met with the Somerset Council's Senior Risk Advisor for Flood and Water Management. 2025 things have slowed down. We've not had as much success as we hoped in engaging with the developer, but that has changed recently. As you say, on the 8th of December, we've got a site walkover, which a number of councillors on the stewardship working group will hopefully be able to attend alongside our open spaces lead. I've had some engagement to try and find out more about the suds on the site, if that was something that councillors were interested in taking on. There was a piece of work that the Somerset Rivers Authority did looking at drainage in new estates in 2019. So that's something that we could potentially look to do, and that's what I'm hoping to gain consent from yourselves as members to use some of that remainder of the stewardship budget from this year. Obviously, we've used some of it this year for the water lease cutback of the estate and for the neighbourhood development plan. So there's £10,000 remaining, and I'd like to use some of that money to help now that we've got good engagement with the consortium around the legals and etc. That we could get some of that consultancy in place to help support your decision making as members, so that these decisions are taken with as much detailed information as possible. There's a little bit of information there around the consortium provided about if the town council was to look to become a sort of management agent. We talk about a local authority management company and some of the things that we'd have to do to pre-qualify and ensure that we would meeting the standards that the residents would expect and we've signed up to as part of the deeds. Due to the timescales and the legal completions on site, a company called Remus has been appointed as the managing agent. But the consortium, as I say in 2.10, are happy to look at Taunton Town Council potentially taking a role instead. So as I think I said, you know, the consortium have as the owners of the land, you know, they can take bits in and out as needed, depending on how much interest there is from the town council and what sort of role we want to play. Yeah, it would be in line with you know, any adopted land adoption and open spaces management policy. I've set out there in 2.13 about some of the advice we've received about the commuted zone, especially with this development. In terms of Orchard Grove, is obviously not a fully developed and, you know, completed estate as yet. So at 2.14, we sought to understand which parts of the estate are ready for this discussion, and so there's been highlighted in colour those particular areas that are now ready for sort of a decision, and we'll go and look at them with the site walkover. And then there's potentially looking into 2027 Portsbridge Park, which is the orange hatch, and part of Mill Pond Park outline orange, plus those areas adjacent to Highfield Park yellow. As I say, in the finance resource implications, we're seeking authority to draw down the remainder of the stewardship budget for this year to obtain specialist advice on any drainage systems in place, as well as legal advice on potential implications associated with setting up a kind of local authority hybrid MANCO model. Happy to take any questions, Chair.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Well, given our last discussion and looking at the report, I mean, I think as a town council, I think we should be certainly looking into this in principle. I'm very keen that we do this, certainly for the opportunities available for us to be involved. So I'll go for Councillor Fernandez, then Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, Chair. I think my only concern is the costs. The resource implications for us as town council, particularly to our open spaces team. And it says here we've got projected still income from the development is 3.7 million. Presumably that is based on the bit that falls under our parish. So obviously there's some of the development falls outside of it, some of it's in Troll, will be in Troll parish eventually, I'm guessing, and the other side of Orchard Grove. And I mean, obviously, again, all this is dependent on if they keep building, because obviously, you know, house sales, they've got to keep building. Some of the, you know, if they're not building, then they're not going to generate the silver. So for me, there's lots of questions about funds and costs. I think that I need a lot more reassurance on. Thank you.
Are you happy? So,
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm not quite sure if the 3.7 includes that is for the entire development or not, but I can get an answer for that. I know we've received, there has been already where before the parish council was created, still receipts that have gone to Bishop's Hole Parish Council and Troll Parish Council. And then, but since the town council has been in existence, we've received all of the, that's in our parish boundary, the still receipt element of the parish, the 25%. So we've received, you know, several £100,000 associated with this development already. But yeah, it is a thing to consider. We have also precepted 150,000 for stewardship, which is sitting in an earmarked reserve, because when we had those discussions back in 2023-24, we thought that, you know, you as the council had a thought that you would need to put some money aside to start building that money aside, especially if there is potential implications. I know with the site there's some unique mechanisms around purchasing some of the land and laying out some of the assets that are going to be required, so it's about prudent to start building up a base as well. So that's it, you know, in a rainy day fund for this in the future as well. I think one of the recommendations is there around recommendation C around you know, the site walkover is really to help as well support the preparation of the estimated costs. So, you know, we're going there with the open spaces lead to seek an understanding really as to how many you know, bodies and schedule of work, etc. this could potentially lead to a really at the start of the process, and then that information will be relayed to councillors in due course once they have a greater handle on the true resource implications. I guess getting the advice around the mechanisms, how that resource is paid for, is important for councillors, so that if we do need to recruit more bodies, then it's either not necessarily paid for on the precept.
Yeah, because I'm assuming at this point we would want to be set up alone. That and Mac code, which I guess we will then do an additional precept to those residents.
Charge,
Yeah. Councillor Rose?
Yeah, I support this and I want it to move forward. I really feel for the people who live on Orchard Grove, and I, you know, it is a bit silly. Why should they be any different to any other resident in any other part of town? But I do understand the sort of history and the costs and whatever. So I like Simon's idea of the, you know, so that we put some of the precept into, if it has to be local management company, fine, fund some of the precept in, and then a much lower charge that eventually, you know, after X years, and it all goes on the precept. I'd be happy with that. I know it's all very complicated. I just think it needs to this process needs to keep moving, because these are our residents, and it's not going to be very happy circumstance for them if all of these public open spaces and areas and the play parks and what have you are not properly diligently looked after in an accountable way, because we all know the issues about, you know, residents on estates where the management company just doesn't respond and things go to rack and ruin. It's not okay. So we have to, I think, you know, really move forward on this.
Any other comments, or I'm conscious that we're getting up to, we never stated how long we were going to go on for, did we? That's right, but but I think we're pretty much there, aren't we, really? Because recommendation A is only in principle, isn't it? So we're only agreeing this in principle so that the clerk has the delegated authority and the time to spend to look at this. And I think we do. I think I agree with you. I think we do need to look at it. We do need to be proactive. We do need to start exploring avenues and options and get the best result for our town residents, because they are residents of this town. So, do I have to read out all the? I do. Okay, right. Okay. Are we all sitting comfortably? So, recommendations. Recommendation first. Recommendation that we recommend in principle declare an expression of interest in playing a future role in the stewardship of community assets in the Orchard Grove estate in Common Trove, Taunton Parish. 2. To delegate authority to the clerk to seek professional, legal and specialist advice on SUDs and Manco's company structures using up to the remainder of the stewardship budget, £10,000, to inform and advise the stewardship working group on the models of ownership and delivery possible to be reported back to full council with comprehensive advice on the range of options possible. 3. That we request the stewardship working group arrange a site visit alongside colleagues from the operations and asset service area to support the preparation of the estimated costs and requirements of the pre-qualification process for a management company and or to operate proposed spaces outlined in Appendix A. 4. Request the stewardship working group to meet once these costs are known to consider the potential options for the open spaces and assets being delivered in Orchard Grove, Common Grove, in conjunction with the emerging land adoption policy, legal and specialist advice, and then to recommend to full council a preferred option. The following being a list of non-exhaustive potential options, which are to seek to fully adopt some or all of the assets outlined in Appendix A, to support a hybrid management model involving a residence body, e.g. a CIC, with operational delivery by TTC, to support the formation of a local owned management company to deliver chargeable services. I'm assuming this is or isn't it? Or,
Yeah, these are all
yeah.
just-
Or decline further involvement and allow the existing management company to continue to take full responsibility. So in essence, we're just approving this in principle in order to delegate authority to the clerk and to request that stewardship working group is able to spend this money and to start investigating further options about Mancos and what assets we can take on, which will take up time. So I'm happy to propose that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Ellis. All those in favour? That's passed. And I officially declare tonight's meeting over. Well done, everyone.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.